everybody. It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 3, Episode 4. And before we get started, I would just like to thank this week's new Patreoners, Michael Sennett, Kyle Rodriguez, Norman D. McFall, hey Norman, and Montreal Drag Queen Extraordinaire, and my friend Siatha Knight. Speaking of Siatha, she just posted a fabulous French parody of Bewitched on her channel, starring Damone Lestrange, who I've done a couple of Instagram lives with as well, and the lovely and handsome Joey Vitale. I'll put a link for it up here and down in the description box. Check it out. It's a hoot. Now, I also want to send a shout out to this week's Tipperdoos. Keith Thompson dropped by. Thanks so much, Keith. And thanks for brightening up my videos so well. I'm absolutely loving these lights you sent me. Thank you so much. And a great big thank you to one of my regular Tipperdoos, Vito. I hope you're doing well, doll. Seriously. And finally, thanks and love to Darren Fancy. You're always welcome, Darren. If you'd like to be a Tipperdoo, join the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, or get yourself some fabulous Wilma merch at my Redbubble store. All those links are down below as well. You heard me. And while you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Now, Jorge, drink me! Oh, my favorite pink cocktail. What is it this week? That is delicious. What is that? Just cranberry and vodka? No, you're using different vodka. That's not regular vodka. Oh, my great friend John sent me some fabulous vodka from Steinhardt's Distillery in Nova Scotia. It's strawberry vodka. Strawberry-y. Okay, let's get to it. The Queens started this week off by saying farewell to Veronica Green. They were truly sorry to see her go, but that didn't stop them from congratulating Vanity on her win. It also didn't seem to stop Vanity from gloating about sending Ronnie home either, just saying. Of course, the queen who really needed praising was Scarlett Harlot for nipping Crystal's reign of fabulousness in the bud. Sounds painful. Speaking of painful, Scarlett seemed to be raking herself over the coals for still being in the competition when Ronnie was sent packing. Oh, youth. Teresa was also shocked by Ronnie's sachet, and I feel that her saying so broke the dam on Vanity's silence. She would have liked to have seen Teresa and River in the bottom, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. All Vanity could do now was make sure she didn't land in the bottom a third time. Seriously. The next day in the workroom, it was clear that production was saving money by not turning on the heat because there were a lot of queens wearing fleece jackets, and I'm not just talking about the skinny ones either, I'm just saying. Brr. Scarlett seemed to be feeling her oats now that she had a repeater badge. Why else would she have asked River Medway if she really wanted to win Drag Race? Seriously. Wasn't it just last week when they were both pretty much circling the drain together? As the other queens gave Scarlett the side-eye, River assured everyone that she did want to be there. Good for River. You stand up for yourself, doll. Seriously. And then there was Rue's video message talking about messy bottoms and, well, I really stopped listening after that. Thankfully, Rue was there with this week's Maxi challenge. Really, no Minnie? Okay. This week, the Maxi challenge was girl groups. Well, Kitty Scott Claus, for one, was not too happy to hear that. I'm lying. I think she wet her pants. So did a few of the others, I'm just saying. To form the groups, Rue made last week's winner, Scarlett, and last week's survivor, Vanity, the team captains. For her group, Scarlett chose Kitty Scott Claus, of course she did, she's not stupid, and Charity Case, while Vanity picked Ella Vidae and, oddly enough, River Medway. Wasn't she just slagging her for being too safe? That left Teresa May and a very shocked Crystal Versace, who couldn't understand why she, a 19-year-old with no performing experience, wasn't picked first. Hello? Have you met Kitty Scott Claus? Seriously. Crystal wasn't too put out as she was picked next for Vanity's team, which meant Teresa was picked last, like a fat kid for dodgeball. This week, the Queens would be performing the sure-to-be next hit in Britain, BDE, which stood for Big Drag Energy. But that wasn't the only thing. There was going to be two versions of the song for the Queens to record. One group would record and perform an upbeat top pop version, and the other would be performing the mid-tempo power bottom mix. On top of that, the queens were responsible for writing and recording their own verses and creating a cohesive group look. Oh, and Ru wasn't done there, no ma'am. She was going to let Scarlett pick which version of the song she wanted her group to record, which would leave the other group with whatever was left over. Leftovers. When's lunch? Seriously. Right away, Scarlett gave the two songs a listen and, surprise, surprise, she picked the upbeat version for her team. Well, I, for one, was shocked. Needless to say, Team Vanity was not feeling very confident about making a hit out of the ballad. It really solidified the idea that they were being looked at as the underdogs. Really? Underdogs? Do I have to remind everyone of the power of Celine Dion? Her heart will go on because of a power ballad. Seriously. Regardless of their feelings of being stuck with the ballad, Vanity was feeling very confident with her team, especially Choriza, because Vanity knows she's a strong performer. Meanwhile, Scarlett told her team that she picked them all because they each represented a different girl vibe. Isn't that a line of personal massagers? Sadly, Scarlett failed to say what vibe she brought to the group. I'm guessing smugness. Scarlett's team was not only happy to have the top pop number, but after hearing the ballad, they thought the other team had their work cut out for them and let them know by openly mocking them. Seriously, have none of these queens heard of karma either? You can see the failure being set up in front of them, can't you? Team Vanity didn't care because they could see their song tugging at heartstrings and lighting lighters all across the land. Now that they had their songs, the queens needed names for their groups. Right out of the gate, Choriza suggested a play on Little Mix with Pick and Mix because, well, as a team, they were all so different. Her team loved it. Of course they did. Over on Team Smug, their thought that their song sounded very Spice Girls seemed to demand that they do a play on the Spice Girls name. Salt Gals, Spice Racks, and, well, Sugar Skanks were bandied about, but the queen, who's created a career out of spoofing girl groups, Miss Kitty, suggested Slice Girls, and a new group was born. Just FYI, in Britain, a slice refers to a pastry served at tea, and not, as most North Americans would think of, as a slice of pizza. Just saying. Maybe their name makes more sense now. And then, to get the queens in the mood, Steps showed up. I know for a fact that my Patreoner, Stefan Pellette, lost his natural mind as much as the queens did. By the way, you can join me and Stefan on Patreon. The link is down below in the description box. And Steps were there not only to inspire, but to help. H and Claire were there to help the queens with their recording session, while Faye and Lee would be helping with the choreography. Lisa was busy in Dubai, which seemed to be a little bit of a letdown to Kitty. No. And with that, it was off to the recording studio with the Slice Girls. Not surprising to anyone, Kitty got her lyrics down without incident. The same could not be said for the rest of the queens. Scarlett needed tweaking, but her energy helped her through, while Crystal clearly was as musical as Mutt, which seemed to worry the other Slice Girls until Charity stepped up to the mic. Or was possessed by it. I'm still not sure. Neither were H and Claire. Charity's demonic undulating caught everyone off guard, but at least she seemed to understand that this was a girl group challenge and that she still had to blend in. At the end of the day, Claire thought the Slice Girls had a lot of work ahead of them. And yes, demonic undulating was my drag queen name in high school. Pick and Mix were next, and Ella went first, and it did not go well. For all her musical theater talk, Ella just wasn't living up to it. H and Claire suggested she try to calm down and not attack the song. It is a ballad after all. No one was more frustrated by this, well, than Ella herself, bless. Vanity did a bit better, enough so that she thought she was the next Nicki Minaj anyway. River was next, and H loved her lyrics and said she was going to be a huge influence on gay kids everywhere. River got very emotional by that because she said that H and Steps were that for her. Then Choriza, the one-take wonder, took the mic. She did a lot of ad-libbing in Spanish and had the whole room laughing hysterically by the end of it. All in all, it was a great way to end Pick and Mix session. Seriously. Choreo was next with the Slice Girls, who were very shocked to hear from Faye and Lee that they were there to advise them on their moves, not actually choreograph anything. I think that all the queens threw up in their dance bags a little over that one. Good thing Miss Kitty was there to pick up the choreo gauntlet. Or was it? Although Charity didn't seem to have many problems in the dance department, or so she thought, both Crystal and Scarlett were proving to be the left feet of the group. Seriously. In her defense, Kitty did try, but maybe she tried too hard. Clearly what she was feeding the group was too hot and spicy for them to keep down. Well, at least at the time allowed. Plus, having Lee and Faye just sitting there watching silently didn't seem to help anyone. And when they did speak up, it was more of a, don't let it show you made a mistake, and try not to race ahead of the other slower ones. Things like that. Why were they there? Charity was either over the repetition or thought she was a way better dancer than she is, because she started throwing her 2 cents into the ring, which wasn't confusing at all. When their time was up, the Slice Girls were looking more pizza than cake. So much so that Kitty was already talking about pulling a ginger spice and going out on her own. That bodes well. Pick and Mix were just as surprised by the lack of choreography being provided by Lee and Faye. Plus, it seemed like their obvious choice for choreographer, Ella, was afraid of actually taking control because she thought it would set her up to take the blame. Well, that's not a good way to start either. That said, they seemed to get through it relatively well. River's suggestion of making fun of the ballad stereotype and the discovery of their signature chest pump move had Pick and Mix leaving the stage feeling way more confident than the Slice Girls. I don't know, it hurts me. The next day, the queens got their costumes sorted and their slap on. River was able to share with Ella how hard it was for her to lose her mom to COVID, and so quickly. It was obviously a much needed emotionally cathartic moment for River to have, which was made more lovely by the support Ella had for her. Here's to drag queens supporting each other. Seriously. Poor River. And then it was time for the runway. As much as I loved Ru's outfit, this is the first time I've ever looked at someone and thought, well, that's a little young for them. Just me? Joining one-time Steps member Michelle Visage on the judges panel was the always lovely and completely hilarious Alan Carr and the legendary Baby Spice herself, Emma Bunton. Without further ado, the Slice Girls took the stage with their top pop version of BDE. Well, at least they tried. Crystal looked flawless and seemed to keep up. Charity stood out as the only brunette in her blue gingham and monster claws, but seemed to hold her own. But the albatross of the group was definitely their team captain, Scarlett. She obviously had trouble with the choreo, but the bigger surprise was her getting her own lyrics wrong. There was a lot of shots of her not lip-syncing and rolling her eyes at herself. But I thought she looked good. The star of the Slices was obviously Kitty. This was her challenge. She looked good, her lyrics were fun, and she danced it up like a pro. The nail in their coffin, though, was Scarlett's obvious disappointment in herself. It ruined their final pose for sure. She just stopped. She didn't. Thank goodness Pick and Mix were next because they were way more fun to watch. Ella kicked it off strongly. Clearly, she sorted out her vocal issues because she sounded good and looked even better. I think this was the first time I thought Ella looked her age in drag. She usually comes off as looking a little marmish, in my opinion. Just me? Vanity also did well. Her lyrics were fun, she looked fab, and didn't seem to screw up any of the choreo. I have to say, my fave of the group was River. First of all, I couldn't take my eyes off her. She looked great, and she served face throughout the whole number, no matter who was taking center stage. She really impressed me. Speaking of being impressed, I can't believe Teresa was picked last. She did such a great job. I thought her lyrics were the best, even though she tried to rhyme chance with UK. But her Spanish lyrics were the best. Also, as a group, Pick and Mix just seemed to be more cohesive. I think they owe that to their signature move. Needless to say, there was an obvious winning group here, even though Charity thought it was close. Bless. And then it was time for the runway. Category is Night of 1,000 Spice Girls, or as Ru was trying to say with a Scottish accent, Space Gals. Crystal was first, and it was nice to see her not in green for a change. Her Baby Spice look was stunning and an obvious winner with Emma. Fingerdoo for Crystal. Charity was next, and in true Charity form, she went right off the deep end with her look. Although I did like the artistry of it, This had nothing to do with the runway category, scary, spice, or drag, if I'm honest. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought this look was very male presenting. Just me? If Charity wants to stay in the competition, she's going to have to try harder to stick to the runway categories. I'm sorry, but I had to give her look a finger don't. Kitty was next, and the only way you could tell how much she loved Baby Spice would have been if she'd launched herself from the stage directly at Emma Bunton. Ah! Fingerdoo and a lolly for Miss Kitty. Scarlett was next, and if I didn't already know the category, I wouldn't have known she was doing Mel B in a million years. Her space buns on her forehead were so small. I didn't even see them. I just thought her wig was way too far back on her forehead. Even when she did a high kick, Emma thought she was giving them more sporty spice than scary spice. Finger don't for Scarlett. Ella Viday's sporty spice was perfection. The outfit was stunning, she looked just like her, and the push-ups were impressive. Fingerdoo for Ella. River Medway's ginger was okay, but like so many of her runways so far this season, it lacked oomph. Also, the wig was the wrong color for Ginger, so it hid her headpiece and kind of blended into the rest of her outfit. And even though the Spice Girls were known for their platforms, I just hated the shoes River wore. So, I hate to do it, but I gave her a finger don't. Come on, River, try harder! Seriously. Now, Vanity Milan's Scary Spice was the best of the scary bunch. The hair was right, the outfit was fun. My only complaint was the highlighter on her forehead and cheeks. It looked too silvery for her complexion and made her look a little chalky. She should have used a more golden toned one, but still, I gave her a finger due. Just saying. Lastly, Charitza May gave us a very elevated Ginger Spice, from the wig, to the cape sleeves, to the corset, right on down to the shoes. I love this look. My only complaint for Charitza was her makeup seemed too heavy. There was a lot of black on the eyes, in my opinion. Still, Fingerdoo for Charitza, seriously. And then, without any ado, Ru declared Pick and Mix the winner of the challenge. Needless to say, they were thrilled and maybe a bit surprised to beat out the pop song. Mind you, they beat out that pop song. Once Pick and Mix had left the stage, it was time for the judges' critiques. As per usual, Crystal was a fave with the judges. This was Emma's first time seeing her, and she was well pleased, although Michelle wasn't impressed by her lyrics. Charity was next, and right off the hop, Michelle called her out on being the only one wearing blue during the number. Charity's excuse that she didn't have anything silver didn't fly with Michelle, and Ru felt Charity stood out on stage for the wrong reasons. As for her runway, Michelle declared it pure art, but in the same breath said it had nothing to do with Scary Spice, and the rest of the judges agreed. Up next was Kitty Scott Claus, and she was another fave of the judges. Her performance was fun, and her runway was perfection, but the big deal was Kitty getting to tell Emma how much she loved her. It was a real moment. Seriously. And then we moved on to a queen who should never play poker. Scarlett's whole face screamed that she knew she failed during the musical number. All the judges agreed that it wasn't her best performance, and after Scarlett professed her own disappointment with her performance, well, there was very little left to say, so the queens retired to the Untucked Lounge. Meanwhile, Pick and Mix were giving themselves a well-deserved cheers for a job well done, proving to the other queens as well as themselves that they were far from being underdogs. Ella even pointed out that all the queens who had won a repeater badge were still out on the main stage being judged. All the queens? So Crystal and Scarlett. I mean, they're the only two badge winners. Still, it was nice to think that 4 non-badge winners were about to get one each, leaving 2 queens out of 8 without one now. Just saying. When the other queens arrived, it was quickly revealed that Scarlett and Charity were in the bottom, and it was more than obvious from their dispositions. Charitza took a moment as the last queen picked for the challenge to ask the queens if they didn't see her as competition, which I feel was a clever reason to let Scarlett know Charitza was glad she didn't pick her for her team. Here's to Charitza, seriously. Back on the main stage, it was revealed that Scarlett and Charity would indeed be lip-syncing for their lives, and they were going to do it to the Spice Girls song, Who Do You Think You Are? I have to admit, this was a fun lip sync, but very quickly I got bored of Scarlett. At one point, even she was watching Charity. And why wouldn't she? Charity was really hypnotic in her leopard spice look. Everything she did was feline like poetry. So, at the end of the lip sync, I was surprised that Scarlett was not sashaying. Neither of them did. It was a double Shantae, which surprised me because if any lip sync deserved a double Shantae, it would have been last week's between Vanity and Veronica. But that's just my opinion, and it's not called Wilma Fingerdoo's Drag Race now, is it? So, there you go. Episode 4 done and dusted. And we still have 8 queens in the running. What do you think? Was the lip sync worthy of a double Shantae? Were the right queens even in the bottom? And despite their performances, which version of BDE did you enjoy? Let me know down below in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel. I almost didn't say so. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. All 3 of those actions do great things to improve my channel's growth. And if you'd like to do more, there are links down below to become a Tipperdoo, get Wilma merch on my Redbubble store, and to join the Fingerdoo family over on Patreon. Also, 2 of my Patreon Judies have created the Fingerdoo group page on Facebook. It's a fabulous place to chit-chat with other members of the Fingerdoo family, exchange recipes, things like that. I'm going to put the link for that down below as well. That's a lot of activity down below. I don't care who you are. And until next time, miss me. Mwah. Seriously, like I can't believe that they had a double Shantae on that lip sync. Just feel like sometimes it's obvious something's a double Shantae, and then sometimes it's obvious when it's a double sachet. I feel like they missed their opportunity for that double Shantae to keep the cast numbers where they ought to be with Victoria's exit, and then got the better of it this week. I don't know. It just bothers me. It feels very random. But that Charity, I get it. If she were doing her own show, then everything she does is fantastic. But she's in a competition. Even Sharon Needles did pretty and basic. Even Bianca Del Rio changed her eye makeup. So did Trixie Mattel. She brought it all down a little for the competition. It's a competition. If you don't want to jump through the set hoops, then don't put your name into the competition. Seriously. Still, I'm with Emma Bunton. I would have killed for that cane. That was gorgeous. And those nails she had, oh, I gotta do that to my nails. Get some gems, stick them on. Glitter makes everything so much better. Just